Roc Bellantoni is back on Auburn's staff.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Ben Taylor of Auburn Opelika this morning over at the Auburn Network, joining us as he does every week at this time. Ben, Auburn brings back a familiar face to bolster its coaching staff. Roc Bellantoni hired to coach edges for the Auburn Tigers, a room that is already fairly deep and very, very talented, and we could get even more talent added before the portal closes. But all in all, I love this move. Solid recruiter, really, really good player developer based on what we've seen in the past. No notes. I really like this move.
No, when I first heard the news, and then you first tell me, I go, well, a familiar name. And then I get to looking back and I'm like, oh, I forgot that he's actually a decent recruiter. And so you got that going for you, which Auburn has seemed to do well thus far doing on their own. So to add to that is even better deal. And now you got somebody that's going to come in and develop hopefully a position that, I mean, clearly you saw, Zach, the edges are so key to me in college football. I mean, dating back to the early even 90s and 2000s for Auburn. And then you saw the impact that happened for South Carolina this year, who I didn't think was going to be that good coming into the year. They got two freshman edges that just, to me, were super impressive to watch, and they're only going to get better. So if you can bring a guy in that can develop him as well as bring him in and recruit him and get him in, I think that it means a ton to the defense as far as everything from keeping quarterbacks contained to keeping running backs from getting to the outside. I mean, it's just so many pluses when it comes to the edge position.
Yeah, I think so. And also, that's a position group that Auburn's clearly made a priority since Hugh Freeze has been here. I know the O-line gets a lot of attention in the receivers and all that, but if you have the ability to consistently pursue opposing quarterbacks without having to blitz extra guys, puts you in a good spot to win. And you can say whatever you want about, Bellantoni being a part of the old regime and all that, but this is a guy who's well liked by everybody who he's been a part of. So he goes to FAU after Auburn, and kind of this weird thing where the current head coach, or I guess the former head coach at FAU, he was on the hot seat, and so he fired him to try to save face. And then he got fired. Then the interim gets brought up, and he's like, "Nope, you're not going anywhere, Roc. Stay here." And then everybody gets laid off, and the new head coach comes in, and then they appoint Roc to be linebackers coach or whatever. So there's just so much
drama
going on down there. Drama, disorganization.
FAU drama.
Yeah, man.
It's FAMA down at FAU.
We need a little Locked On FAU action, man. Their numbers would be popping right now. But clearly this is a guy that people want around their program who are aware of him. And so I think you can kind of take that for what it's worth. I think that's a pretty big endorsement there. But also, this is the last guy who got to work with Derek Hall before Derek Hall went to be a menace for the Seattle Seahawks, as well as Eku Leota, who was okay, but I think under Roc's tutelage and coaching probably played better than he actually was.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you look at the current situation that Auburn has, it's all right. Yeah, I think we'll take that level of coaching.
No, because you can't sit there as an Auburn fan and think, what are a couple of things we always hear? They talk about offensive woes, but then they talk about lack of development from both sides of the football. And then you bring in a guy like this, and it's okay, well, there goes your lack of development, because clearly he can get stuff out of players that they couldn't necessarily do before. And I got to ask you this, because you hear some stuff from behind the scenes from time to time. This have anything to do with the Sam Houston State edge coming in? Do you think that played a key role in doing that?
Probably not. I mean, I'm sure it was discussed, but the fact that I'm sure that they told Chris Murray that they were coming in, and he's like, okay, cool, whatever. I can't imagine bringing Roc in is going to dissuade any edge defender from coming to play for him. This is a guy who's pretty much universally liked. And like you said, I mean, you're not going to be able to be a part of Hugh Freeze's staffs if you can't recruit. And Roc can certainly do that, but he can coach too. He can certainly coach. And like when you just talk about the names in this room, Keyron Crawford, Chris Murray, Keldrick Faulk, Amaris Williams, Jamonte Waller, Joe Phillips, Jared Smith, the ceiling on these guys, on all of them, there's not one exception where the ceiling is not ridiculously high. Now, some ceilings may be more obtainable than others. Like when you talk about Keldrick, like he's probably going to get there. Like he's just
that was my next thing. How big of a step do you think Keldrick Faulk takes with this?
I don't think it hurts, and that's something I talked about yesterday. Was okay. Keldrick took a major step from his first year to his second year, and that's typically when you see the largest step. I mean, everybody develops differently, but that seems to be the most common. But it does make you wonder, like, okay, if a new coach comes in and is able to teach him different things or maybe kind of have messaging a different way, like, does that help Keldrick? I don't think it hurts. I think
it helps. I'm a big person of you learn to learn whenever you get to college. And whether that be in the classroom or on a football field or basketball court or baseball, whatever, you learn to learn. So you're drinking through a fire hose your freshman year or the year leading up to your freshman year. Things start to slow down towards the end of your freshman year. Then all of a sudden spring rolls around. Stuff starts clicking a little bit more. And you go into your sophomore year. So you learn to, and then you start putting things together. And so I think Keldrick at this point can take on more. So I think if Roc comes in and says, well, have you done this? Or could you try this? Or maybe this is something you can work on. Even if it's with hands or if it's with feet or whatever, I think that he's the type of guy that could kind of roll with that at this point in his career and go, yep, I can do that. Or I can work on that.
I agree. So who are some of these guys that could benefit the most from this hire? You can make the argument for pretty much everybody in that room, but I've got two for you. Got two for you, Ben. Let's hear your thoughts on them in just a second, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Game Time's the best place to buy tickets. Ben Taylor, can you imagine buying tickets anywhere other than with our friends at Game Time?
I'm already ready to say it.
What are you ready to say?
Game Time?
Oh, okay. I'll tee it up for you. 1 second. 1 second. It doesn't matter what it's for. If it's football, basketball, baseball, WWE, whatever it is. Whatever it is, Game Time has you covered. You can see the panoramic view from your seat. It's the lowest price guarantee with what Game Time has to offer. Just download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Locked On College, all one word, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Ben, what time is it?
Game time!
Yes! Today's show is also brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. Make sure you're ready for the NFL action. And FanDuel's got a deal for you right now. Bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Your first $5 bet doesn't even have to win anymore. It's guaranteed for $200 in bonus bets. And during the NFL playoffs, college basketball is about to really pick up. You still got a few more college football games. Just get ready over at FanDuel.com. FanDuel.com. It's America's #1 sports book. Ben, what time is it?
FanDuel time.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first or second listen every single day. So we listed all the talented edge players that are currently in this room as we record this. Keyron, Murray, Faulk, Amaris, Jamonte, Joe Phillips, Jared Smith. There's two guys that I immediately thought about when this was brought on. And by this, I mean Roc being hired as edge coach.
Being this, yes.
Is Keyron Crawford. And I talk about Keyron Crawford a ton.
Yep.
But you look at Derek Hall and you look at Keyron Crawford, and if I'm Keyron, I'm saying yes. Like what Derek was able to do in his final year at Auburn, I'm saying absolutely. Right. I am stoked to be here. Hey, coach, get me to the NFL.
Not just that. I'm reaching out to Derek Hall. You go, what are the questions I need to ask, Coach? What do I need to what are some of the things I need to do on a day-to-day basis in that room as far as Bellantoni is concerned, like sitting in front of him? What do I need to put in my notebook when I go do my one-on-ones with Coach that he needs to see out of me and I need to see out of him? Like I think I think he has unlimited potential this year if he will do the legwork throughout the week that will take him easily into Saturdays.
Yeah. Hard to argue against that. Just such a long frame, and he's raw still. Like he hasn't been playing football that long. And we just saw him get so much better throughout the year last year. So I think Keyron Crawford certainly wins from Roc Bellantoni being hired as Auburn's edge coach. The other to me is Jared Smith, true freshman coming in. But you talk about long frames, explosive frames, power. You never know how long a talented, sought-after position coach is going to stay at its current post, but I've got a feeling Roc is going to stay here as long as Hugh Freeze lets him. And if you're Jared Smith and you have the opportunity to come into this and develop several years under this guy, the sky is the limit for a guy like Jared Smith.
Again, I go back to what I saw out of South Carolina this past year. And I think he could have the ability to make that sort of impact. I don't know that he's going to be on the field as much as those two guys were because they had zero depth at South Carolina. Whereas, like you said, I mean, you got 5-6 guys, possibly 7 or 8 before.
We'll see what happens.
Closes.
We'll see.
So, and who knows if he puts on weight, if he looks at another position or so. But I think the potential is, and you're right, getting that 3 years. I think Roc doesn't come back if he doesn't love it here and he doesn't want to be here. I think he's, him being the recruiter he is, I think he could have easily gone somewhere else.
Yeah.
And even if it were a sub-tier program, I think he could have gone somewhere else and made a huge difference.
He had a job at FAU, like the new regime wanted him. So it's not like he was like shoot out by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But also he's going to already have like relationships. He hasn't been gone that long. He's going to have relationships with high schools and all that in the state. Like I love the move. I love the move. There's not really any part of this where I'm pointing at and saying, One interesting aspect of this is it was reported over the weekend, I think, that Tanner Burns, the special teams coach from last year, also getting nickel being added to his list of responsibilities. I wonder, like Roc has coached special teams in the past. I wonder if they give some of that to him. I think that'd be interesting.
Do you think he can keep us from holding on a kickoff?
I hope so. There's only one way up, baby. There's only one way up.
That got so old, man. I mean, how many good? But you're right. I mean, clearly, and I don't think that was a demotion by making Burns take over Nichols and to be able to.
It was reported as a promotion.
And so, but I'd be lying and say that was one of the holes in the game of Auburn last year, especially.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we're sitting here laughing about it, but how many times did we shoot ourselves in the foot with a 35, 45-yard return that got backed up?
Countless times. Or a missed field goal or, a punt that it went 20 yards shorter than it should have. I mean, there's a lot. Starting your drives on the 5-yard line, and it's just over and over and over again. Like, what are we doing? Yeah. What are we doing to ourselves? So I'm curious to see. I haven't seen that anywhere. I'm just kind of speculating. So
even if he doesn't hold the title as co-special teams,
can't hurt.
Surely they're going to say, "Hey, Roc, what did you see on that play? Or did you see something we could have done differently?" Now it's pretty obvious when you go, "Yeah, he shouldn't have reached out and tackled the defender right before he got the guy." I mean, that's but still, put him in position to be successful, and I think that Roc can do that.
Yeah. Ben Taylor, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
News Talk WANI. Go to aunetwork.com. You can click on the WANI logo. Woody Sports each and every morning just after 7, or you can click on or download the Radio Alabama app, and it's got all the stations on there, and you can see where you can find me from there.
Cool. Please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.